So here we have a Ryobi S430, little 4-stroke, with a typical camshaft bearing failure. Symptoms were oil spewing out when it's running past the seal of the camshaft. As you can see, this is already taken apart, but the problem is the machined boss in the head has no bushing in it. It's just a steel shaft running in an aluminum housing. And with time, it has just worn out to where there is excessive play, to the extent that the belt was partially coming off and oil was coming past the seal. So my proposed fix for this is to use a bronze bushing, a flanged bronze bushing, and basically just drill out that existing camshaft bearing hole large enough to accommodate that new bushing with a bit of a friction fit, and it will automatically center itself because the OD of the flange on the bushing is basically exactly the same as the ID of that area that holds the seal. So to give you a better understanding of this, this is the flanged bronze bushing, which is oil impregnated, and it is 8mm ID, which is exactly the same as the camshaft. Fits perfect. And the OD of this flange, by sheer coincidence, is the same as this area that holds the seal. So my plan is to drill out that inner portion, get it close enough just with an undersized drill, and then gently file or whatever to get this to be a friction fit. And because this OD of the flange and the ID of that seal retainer area there are the same, it'll make automatically it will align itself. The bushing that I'm going to be using, or trying to use, is from McMaster Car, and this is all of the information as far as dimensions for that piece. Okay, so after looking at my drill bits, I've determined that I need to drill this out to at least 29/64 to give me a slightly undersized bore with which I can further enlarge by gentle use of grinding stones or whatever I can find in my toolbox to make that a friction fit while still staying centered. So here you can see I've started drilling out the ID for what will now become basically the boss for this new bushing with the 29/64 drill bit, which is going to be slightly undersized. Something to pay attention to is where the camshaft used to ride in the aluminum bore of the head. A little roughness can appear on here, so I used some 2000 grit emery sandpaper and smooth that out so that when the bushing goes on, it rides nice and smooth. Another consideration is the thickness of this flange. Because it's going to be sitting in this head, in that bore, it has to accommodate the seal as well as this flange. So I'm going to be taking that flange down by about 1/2 that thickness. So I'm going to be taking about 1/2 or 3/4 of a millimeter off there, leaving just a small flange to keep it from moving. So here is the flange of the bushing. I've ground it down to about half its thickness at least. So here I've started pressing the bushing in, just doing kind of a test fit, checking to see how tight it is, how much of a friction fit do I have. And to push it in straight, I've been using the camshaft as a driver in effect, pushing it through all the way into the opposite bore so it lines up straight, and then gently tapping on the center here just to get it started. So I've been using a carbide burr on my cordless drill to in effect act as a bit of a machining tool here, and I've been working gently with very little pressure on the inside ID of that inner boss, and you can see when the bushing starts to go in, there are a few little tight spots which I need to address. If the camera will focus, that would help, but it ain't gonna happen. So there's the bushing pressed in. It's a nice snug fit, but not overly tight. And it just protrudes through to the other side, which is going to be just about perfect. And if it's a little bit too long when it's all said and done, I'll just use that same carbide bit and trim off the excess. Okay, so the bushing is fully installed, and I was using a bit of 2000 grit emery on a smaller drill bit, just wrapped around it, to do the final honing to size, if you could call that. But the end result is that everything fits absolutely perfect and spins just as smooth as silk with almost no play whatsoever. So really happy with that. Next, I will be cleaning things up, putting the seal in here, and probably going to put a little oil in here as well, maybe some light grease, just to make sure this bushing has a little extra lubrication. Even though this system is pressure lubricated by that little jet there, I just want to make doubly sure that oil is going to get in here, and I might even drill a small oil hole through this boss here just so that oil can get into the bushing for positive lube. Anyway, we'll see what happens. So the seal is now installed, and the seal that I used, I bought two of them because you never know, might damage one, is from Motion Industries, and it's available anywhere in Canada for the most part. So with everything reassembled, it appears I did not have to trim off the inside of that bushing. But everything is back in, and it rotates really nice. The belt is staying on perfectly. It's not trying to run off like it was before. And everything went together really good. So really happy with this so far. Okay, everything is back together. The only thing left is to see if it runs. So here goes. Just bear with me. I got to try and hold this thing down with my knee because I'm holding the phone with my other hand here. So that's not going to work very good. Well, there you go. Belt is staying on beautifully. No oil coming past the seal. I think we're going to get some more life out of this little machine.